Yep.
Well, thanks for doing this with us today. I certainly appreciate it. So I have 5 questions, and you can
Oh.
talk about whatever you want to.
You want to start with the hat?
Oh yes, can you put your hat on?
That first arm don't work too good.
Here you go. Can you share your most memorable story or two from when you served in World War II?
My most memorable thing? And where we were living, we had double-deck bumps. In other words, your bed was a bed above or below,
Yep.
and mine was below. And it was our first week in these dormitories. Well, it was like a dormitory. And some of the fellows wanted to go over and have a local beer. And it was very nice. They did, and I went to bed. I was on the lower bunk. But when they come back, I got christened with a bottle of water. It disturbed me. But we were all of the same rank. We were really just seamen. And you got over it.
Yeah. What did it mean to you to have such an important role, treating those dogs to protect the coast? And did some of the dogs go overseas as well?
Yes.
Yes. Do you want to talk some about what you did there and what it meant to you to have that role? Because that's a special role. You don't meet people, well, you don't meet a lot of World War II veterans anymore, but to do what you did,
That was something different.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting because you brought in a dog that was a pet, and now you wanted him to stop doing what he wanted to do and do what we wanted. And it was interesting.
So people donated their house dogs.
Yes.
Did they have to be a certain breed?
When I first went in, they didn't have to be a certain breed. Consequently, we got small dogs and medium dogs and a lot of German Shepherds. So we decided the little dogs were out of the question because we start out walking or whatever, and they sort of want to go their way where we want them to go our way. Mm-hmm. But it was wonderful work.
Can you talk more so people can understand what your role was in the war, where you were and what you did?
Well, I just graduated from high school, and I decided, enlist. And I went down and I enlisted in the Coast Guard. There's a little story attached to that. I went down to join the Navy, and the line was a block long, and I didn't have time to wait. So I don't know, it was confusing. And they come out and said, well, it's lunchtime, you'll have to go somewhere and eat a lunch or eat something and then come back. So as I was walking up Chestnut Street in Philadelphia, because the enlistment was in the building where they were enlisting, they said, okay, break for lunch. Our cameraman and all the employees had to eat. So when I was walking up the street, there was a sailor on the corner. I didn't know anything about the Navy. And he said, "Do you want to enlist? We can enlist you right away." So I said, "Oh, okay."
The Coast Guard.
I didn't even know that. And then when we were pledging the oath of office, when they said the United States Coast Guard, I said, "No, I want the Navy." And the guy said, "Well, you're a Coast Guardman now, so put up your hand and you swore." And it was a little disappointing.
Yeah.
But it was scary, wonderful, and easy, all mixed up. Because we loaded onto a truck 4 men, and they took us to our post. Mine was up in Elkins Park. When the truck pulled up, I was the only one to get off there. And they said, "Oh, it's dog training." And I thought, I want to be a hero and run down, hop on a boat and get over. But it wasn't quite that way. And it started working out, with the truck took us up to Elkins Park, where the dog training is starting. But it was a birthday that we didn't celebrate because it was the first day of any kind of training of dogs. And Mr. Ted Catnick was the one that came up with the idea, so they made him a lieutenant, so he'd have power over the seamen. But it was wonderful and scary. You didn't know where we were. And they said, "Well, now this is where you're going to be for part of your enlistment. And the boat training will come later." But it never did.
Because you were good at training dogs.
That's it. We started training dogs, and I had a little experience with training them because I had a German Shepherd that was oversized, and it was a little pony for some people, but it was a trainable dog. And that's the first time I had anyone say anything about what I was going to do. So it was completely in the dark at that point.
Now, your German Shepherd, that was at home, correct? That wasn't there. Your
No.
oversized German Shepherd was your dog at home
Yes,
that you had experience training.
yes.
Yeah. So why were you picked to be in charge of other recruits, new recruits?
Well, it worked out that my experience at home with big German Shepherds, they made me they made me a commander of the group, like. So I was posted as a director of dog training. And it was very interesting because we started out accepting any kind of a dog, if it was a dog. And we had some of them that big and some of them, and they finally said, "Oh no, this is the dog, little dog like that, you couldn't guard anything." And they made it only German Shepherds, which was a very good idea because they were big, unruly. They were a pet, now you had to take this pet and change his whole life. Get up a certain hour, training, and even meals. So it worked out very well as far as I was concerned. But one of the things, Abington Hospital had a book of anybody that was hurt in the Coast Guard. And we had the first 15 pages of bites on the hands, on the arm. Sometimes a dog would bite you and you didn't even know it. And they were a quick bite. But you had to take a pet and put him in your command. And actually, my training was done with all sorts of dogs, and then specialized in German Shepherds, because they would be on duty at night, and what happened during the day was just training, and we worked all night in different shifts.
And when you worked, would you go patrol certain areas of the coast?
That's it. We trained the fellows what to do. Mm-hmm. A big dog don't want to do what a handler wants them to do, but you have to learn when to make it uncomfortable, or even abusing the animal, because you want him to sit and he don't, you bang him on the hindquarters and he sits. Mm-hmm. And it was very, very basic training.
Mm-hmm. And then these dogs and their handlers would be shipped up and down the United States coast, and also to bases in Europe. Can you talk about where they would go?
Oh, we patrolled all the airport bases. Mm-hmm. They would fly at night, and then with their flying at night, we had a post all the way around the border of the Naval Air Station. Mm-hmm. My first experience with that was Atlantic City Naval Air Station. The present airport was the base of a patrol. And in Atlantic City, the base was just outside Atlantic City, a mile and a half. And all sorts of people were there. So it was a very important job that you got the people used to the base so they wouldn't get near the dogs. Mm-hmm. We had a few people bitten.
Your son says to tell the story about the admiral whose dog was a picky eater.
I might be court-martialed. The admiral called from the Quonset Naval Air Station, and he said, I'm having a little problem. My wife likes the dog, but it won't do what he wants. Could you help me? I said, oh, yeah, just bring your dog over to me. And what they did, I expected a car to pull up, but an airplane pulled up, and the admiral and the dog got out. And he said, the dog just won't listen. Can you help us? I said, I know I can. So I said, just leave it to me for a week. And he said, okay. He got back on the plane, took off. And in that week, he became a unruly dog and really a ruly one. And for one special training, we only fed him once a day and very little. So the dog was really hungry after a week, and it would eat anything. And after the Admiral took the dog back to his wife, he called and he says, "It worked out wonderful. Dog eats anything now." But it was training that did it. Wasn't that they didn't feed him, but it was for training how to get him to eat the right things.
Mm-hmm. There you go. And he says to also tell us about the plane that caught fire.
Well, we were basically part of the emergency section. Where the plane, I imagine, was it the story of the plane catching fire while we were in the air? I guess that was
Maybe,
it.
yes.
Because I was sitting in back of the pilot, and all of a sudden the buzzer buzzed, and I motioned to the pilot, "What is it?" And he says, "The motor's on fire. We're going back." Oh, we're out over the ocean, and hope we make it back. And when we approached the airport, I was at a smaller base, but it was big in planes size. And I looked out the window, and their emergency crew was coming out. Usually when a motor job happens, the plane crashes. And all I could see is my new wife with the old dog, and it would just upset everything. I was married only 1 week, and I thought of that, but we landed without any problem.
Good. Let me go to the next. Why, to you, is it important to preserve military history, like Myrtle Beach did with the World War II Memorial?
Oh. Well, it was different because here you had the open, nothing was sealed off for average person, and anything could happen. People look the same and act the same as people who had been here for years. And they were great spies. They were very well trained. And a woman that probably in her 40s fell on a highway. She crossed the highway and tripped, fell, and we rushed her to the hospital, and she stayed in the hospital for over 2 weeks. And we thought, what's going on? Why? She's moving fine. And they finally arrested her. She was a spy. And we didn't know it. The first thing you know, first incident of it is they said, "Is she here?" "Oh, yes, she's in the barracks right now." And they went over and come out with her in handcuffs.
She was a spy at your base?
At the base.
Oh my gosh, for the Germans?
Yes. Well, she had been in America for the first 6 years of her life. And then he moved over to Germany, and she became a spy.
So how did she get in your base?
She got employment for cleaning as a well-educated lady, and she's a good actor. She made it look real. She was working at the base for a month, and the base security came to us to try and put her every time she went out at night. And we did, and they caught 3 German people coming to the country, but unannounced. They came over by submarine, got off on a lifeboat, but the lifeboat was from Wildwood, and looked very innocent until they actually arrested the 7 people.
Wow. Why is it important to preserve military history?
So it doesn't happen again, or it should happen again. In other words, people, when there's a war, everybody's nice to everybody or suspicious of people. And it's hard on people coming from Germany to the United States during the war. And they were servant-type people, but they were actually spies. They come over and got work on the base even. The 2 ladies were in the kitchen, and they finally arrested them. But it's very hard determining, their origin, and most of them were American, married German people, and became German spies.
I've not heard that. Let's see what else I got. What's your favorite part about, this is an easy one. What's your favorite part about living in Myrtle Beach?
Oh, Myrtle Beach, you have everything. You have wonderful water, and they heat it all the time. But the people are very nice. I was a little bit shocked when I was picked to come here, and the action of the people toward a military person. You get a lot of people hating people. For instance, the son of a married couple signed up and go away. Well, in my case, I had 2 brothers, and both of them enlisted in one in the Army because he took ROTC in LaSalle College, and he was an officer. My other brother was just a seaman mechanic.
In the Navy?
In the Navy. Yeah. He was on the battleships, had their own plane and projected the flying. But then they had to pick him up out of the water. And that was his job, operating the crane. So he was in the service 3 years, and I never saw him once.
Did they both survive the war?
Yes.
That's good.
All 3 now. The gentleman you saw here is my brother. and his wife. She's got the best job of all, cooking for us.
Yeah. Good job. At 103, what is your best life advice?
That would be a long question.
Yeah.
But one of the main things was getting married. I was being drafted, and we made up our mind to get married. And I was first week in uniform. And but married life was the main thing. I had 4 children, and it made a difference in them. You're traveling, and they're small. You have to go with you, and they became accustomed to people, which many children don't. But that was the main thing that I was going to say I did it, but the Coast Guard did it. They said, we'll get you to go around and talk to the kids in school and all about enlisting in the Coast Guard. And it worked out fine. And once you get the student or the person going to enlist, once they get in the uniform, it makes a difference in them. They're willing to listen to orders. And young people today like to do whatever they want to do. And you can't even in civilian life.
So what's your best life advice?
My best life event? When I was honored for my military service, and my wife was with me then, and it made all the difference in the world. You travel, and as long as you can obey orders, it's easy. I became the one giving the orders. I went in as a seaman, and then you have seaman first, and then a rated man, the stripes on their arm. Each of those, one thing, each of those, like when you go into a town to search it, just guard it, and anything that command people do, they said, we want the Coast Guardman, when he goes ashore, be the best American there is, and get along with everybody. And it worked out for me, may not for everybody else. But if you can take orders, it's easy. And when you get to a point that you give the orders, it becomes a little harder. But military life is what you make it. As I said, you become a veteran. I even put it on my hat. The veterans thing, and this shirt that I wear is for the Veterans Organization. As long as you can take orders and finish them, it's good. Any of them.
So you're happy that you ended in the Coast Guard?
Yes, I was very happy. when I became even a one-striper, that you give the orders and you make sure that they obey them, and it gets a little bit hairy at times. But when you have people away from home, and many of them the first time, they got to be handled different. So it's a wonderful world if you make it.
That's true. Well, I don't have anything else. Is there anything else you wanted to add about the war, or is there anything else you want? Any closing thoughts? Anything else you want to add?
Well, for those who had somebody in the service and they worried all the time, I know my parents worked, it made 10 years more on their life, but I was fine. And if they have someone want to go in the Army or the Navy or the Coast Guard, they can't have a record, a police record. So they have to be in good shape. Of course, I'm not in good shape now. I have a walker. 'Cause
You're 103. You get to have a walker.
yeah.
Do you want me to ask Bob to get you a glass of water?
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, Bob.
Yes.
Can you get him a glass of water?
Yes.
We're finishing up, or I think we are done. Unless there was anything else you wanted to add. How long did you end up being in the Coast Guard? Your dad.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It was 5 years.
5 years. Because you were there the whole time during the war, pretty much, from the beginning to the very end. You're yeah. He's been talking a long time.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
He was a lieutenant,
Oh, he was.
so I had to salute him.
I'll let you take a drink. No, that was great. I have one more question about what does being a veteran mean to you?
It's like still being in the service. It trains you to be a good citizen, because even the newest recruit has to work hard and has to have a clear record. And he will get along great knowing that people are what he is, but he's in a uniform. And most everyone respects the uniform, although I don't wear it now.
You still have it?
I still had parts of it.
I don't have anything else, Patrick. Anything else you wanted? You're good?
Good.